Hey, what's up YouTube? This is the Mermail Master coming at you from the Team Time Riders Yugioh channel with a very special video for you of one of my favorite decks in the game. Now, this deck is probably a deck that you haven't really seen in a while, and today I'm bringing it back as part of a brand new segment I'm planning on starting on casual decks. Like, these are the kinds of decks that are sort of like hyper casual, so not in just as casual on the level of something like Despots or like Yugiohs or like, maybe a tier 3 or tier 4 kind of deck. These are hyper casual decks that you can bring in to, play a first time player of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or to play like, some kind of like kid or someone who's just sort of starting out in the game. You and your friends can take several of these decks and pit them against each other. And what it really does is it sort of forces you into a corner by, you don't have like as many of like, X amount of card, or, it's a different style of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Where different cards provide a different type of challenge. So yeah, this is this deck. Reptiliannes is actually one of my favorite decks to play. I really like the idea of the attack powers going to 0, and I think that eventually, in time, that this deck could become very good and very fun if it gets something that allows all of your opponent's monsters to go to 0. So yeah, I'm going to take you guys through the deck profile, show you some of the stuff that I run and why I run it. So yeah, let's get started. So first and foremost, we have the 3 monsters themselves. Reptilian Naga. Now, Naga, you have to run her at 3 because she is the heart and soul of the deck. She's basically, whenever she's attacked, maybe face down or face up, like whoever battles with her, that monster's attack power automatically drops to 0. And as you mentioned, Reptiliannes are a deck that focuses entirely around getting your opponent's monsters to 0. The one problem, though, is if she's flipped face up during the next turn, she has to switch herself to attack position, so that's a little bit of a troublesome kind of thing. But she is one of the main playmakers in the main way that you can get your opponent's monsters down to 0, so you absolutely have to run her down to 3. The next card I'm running 3 copies is of 3 copies of Reptilian Gardna. Now, Gardna is your main searcher, and when Gardna is destroyed, and he's sent to your graveyard, you're able to add 1 Reptilian monster, and this is any Reptilian monster, straight from your deck right into your hand. So very, very useful card. Next, I think, is possibly either my favorite or my second favorite of the Reptilian monsters, and that's going to be 3 copies of Reptilian Scylla. So Reptilian Scylla is kind of like a very small Goyo Guardian monster that when you attack an opponent's monster that has 0 attack, you special summon that monster in defense position to your side of the field at the end of the battle phase. Three copies of Reptilian Medusa, the 6-star in the deck, and this is one of the other ways to decrease an opponent's monster by 0. Send 1 card from your hand to your graveyard to decrease the attack of a selected monster to 0, and it cannot change its battle position. So it can be a little bit tough to summon, but I just think it's still a good card. 3 copies of Reptilian Viper, because you can actually use Viper proactively as a way to take your opponent's monsters that have 0 attack power. You can basically steal one of your opponent's monsters, and it's a tuner as well, so like if you decrease an opponent's monster's attack power to 0 and then you just steal it away with Viper, like you can just get some really, really good plays of that. 2 Reptilian Gorgon. When this attacks your opponent's monster, that monster's attack goes to 0 and it cannot change its battle position. It's an okay card. I think it's the worst of the Reptiliannes because it has to, be battling for the monster's attack power to go to 0. And it can't just be attacked sort of like Naga. 2 Oshalion. When it's destroyed, you get to search a 500 attack or lower reptile monster from your deck to your hand. So that's like your Naga. That's your Reptilian Viper. That's several different cards in this deck that are able to be searched by Oshalion. So I think he's a great card to have in here too. 1 copy of Reptilian Vasky. She's kind of the boss monster of the deck. basically you can special summon her by tributing 2 monsters that have 0 attack, and then you can, once per turn, destroy a monster on the field. And these tokens can come from either side of the field, or these cards can come from either side of the field. So it's like sort of like the same thing as like the kaijus and stuff like that, targeting removal and stuff. It's a little bit tougher to use, but the funny thing is that this card would actually run in side decks just to deal with Dracosac, because what you could do is take your tribute the 2, like Dracosac special summons 2 tokens with 0 attack, and it's supposed to be a good defensive maneuver. You just basically special summon Vasky by tributing both 0 attack tokens, and then pop the Dracosac that made the tokens, and then you got a 2600 beater. So it is literally just one card made like way before the time that Dracosac existed that was almost like, it just seemed tailor-made to perfectly counter Dracosac at the time. So this was a very popular side deck choice during Dragon Ruler format, and it was kind of fun like getting to play with this card on a competitive level, like outside of Reptiliannes. So very, very good and very fun boss monster, Reptilianne Vasky. And now the last monster I run in the deck is 1 copy of Mass Chopper. This is actually like a little tech card, because when it destroys a monster by battle, it only has 100 attack, but when it destroys a monster by battle, inflict 2,000 points of damage to your opponent's life points. So, you can just basically decrease the attack of an opponent's monster to 0 and then run over it with Mass Chopper, and he's just basically like inflicts 2,000 points of damage. I run another card called Battle Mania in the deck. So if you have a whole bunch of 0 attack monsters, like some like Ojama tokens or something, you can pair them together, force them to attack into Mass Chopper, and then just basically inflict like 6,000 points of damage on your opponent's turn. It's honestly insane. So that's it for the monsters. Now, moving on to the spell cards. 3 copies of Reptilianne Rage. This is in here because it increases the attack power of your Reptilianne. So if you equip this to like a Scylla or something, it suddenly increases itself up to 2,500 and can take down like monsters that are larger than it. And then when it's destroyed, when the monster is, it also changes the type of the monster to reptile, and when the monster equipped with it is destroyed, Reptilianne Rage allows you to select 1 monster your opponent controls, and that monster loses 800 attack. So it's basically like increasing your attack and reducing the attack of your opponent's monsters. Next is going to be 3 copies of Reptilianne Poison. You can only activate this card when you control a Reptilianne monster. Basically select 1 face down defense position monster, flip it face up, and reduce its attack power to 0. I decided to bump this up to 3 because recently there's been a lot of flip effect monsters in the game. Whether you're running this deck in casually or on a competitive level, flip effect monsters are starting to see a big resurgence in the game, specifically within recent sets. This could be an awesome tech versus a sub-terror deck. Just flip their monsters face up, the attack goes to 0, and then you can just basically steal it away with the Reptilianne Viper and make a Star Eater or a Leo or something like that. So a very cool card that I think a lot of people need to consider. Moving on to my favorite of the Reptilianne spells is Reptilianne Spawn, which is basically remove from play 1 Reptilianne monster and special summon 2 Reptilianne tokens that both have 0 attack power. So this is the way to get your Reptilianne tokens onto the field. So tribute them off for Vasky, or tune them together for something, who knows. And then let's see, we have 1 copy of Dark World Shackles, which prevents a monster from attacking, and then the monster's attack and defense go to 100. I might replace this with something else, but I'm currently liking it so far, specifically because you're able to run over monsters with this card. 1 copy of Savage Coliseum. This basically encourages all monsters to attack, and then each time you attack, you gain 300 life points. So if all of your opponent's monsters are just basically attacking into Vasky or attacking into your other types of monsters, like your Mass Chopper, for instance, that can really allow you to make some serious plays. 1 copy of Solidarity. Everyone's reptiles around here, so Solidarity is great for just increasing that attack power even more. a copy of Mini Guts, because this is one of the ways you can reduce attack power to 0, and then just run over the monster. When it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, basically your opponent takes damage equal to the attack of that monster. So it's kind of a -2 in the beginning, but it can really end games if you let it. So it's a very, very fun, cool card. And then finally, for the spell cards, is one copy of Moon Mirror Shield to allow you to crash with Vasky. That's very, very cool. You run into something with Vasky if it can't be you run into something with Vasky, or you can run into something with Naga that allows you to like constantly be able to get over like your opponent's monster. So, an awesome card, and I really, really like this card. Alright, so that was it for the spells. Now, moving on to the traps, I'm going to start things off with Confusion Chafe, which when your opponent declares a second direct attack, you're able to have one of the monster that declared the second direct attack against the monster that declared the first direct attack, and they do battle together, which just sort of like will protect your life points and protect like your kind of stuff. It's just a kind of cool trap card that I think a lot of people haven't really considered, and that can really catch your opponent off guard, particularly if they have like untargetable, non-destructible monsters, and they're going to take all the damage from it. 2 Battle Mania, as I explained before, sort of works hand in hand with the following 2 cards. 1 Ojama Trio for creating tokens, and then 1 All-Out Attacks for switching special summon monsters to attack position to attack. So what you basically do is you can either have 1 copy of Reptilian Naga or 1 copy of your Mask Chopper out on the field in either attack or defense positions, or anything, pretty much anything equipped with a Moon Mirror Shield, for instance. Have them out in the field. You know, you have like these 3 set. What you're basically able to do is, you know, he's got like the 100 attack power. On your turn, flip up on your opponent's turn, like on their battle phase, for instance, flip up Ojama Trio, flip up All Out Attacks, so switch them to attack position, and then Battle Mania forces them to battle with your Mass Chopper. So all tokens hit in for 300 attack, and then Mass Chopper inflicts 2,000 points of damage each time one of them is destroyed. So like a nice little cool combo that you can like pull off with like these tokens and stuff, and yeah, just like that kind of cool stuff that you can do. And so finally, for the final count of cards, we have 1 copy of Jingzhen Hu Replica to sort of lock down back row, and then 1 copy of this compulsory escape device for when you take control of an opponent's monster, like with a Viper or something like that, or you take control of it with something else. Activate escape device, bounces the monsters back to the deck, bounces a monster back on your side of the field back to the deck, and a monster on your opponent's side of the field back to the deck. So if you're consistently taking control of your opponent's monsters and then bouncing them back to the deck and then bouncing something your opponent controls back to the deck, basically escape device kind of becomes a costless card, which can be very, very good, because sometimes in Reptilians it is tough to sort of maintain that level of cost, but bouncing things back to your opponent deck, and we look at things like Drowning Mirror Force, that's actually a very, very big thing in the format. So yeah, that's that. And then moving on, we have a pretty bare bones synchro lineup. You can of course run whatever you want. Reptilian tuners are not specific to, you know, they don't have like, you know, you must be tuned with reptile monsters, for instance. But this one here specifically states, I believe it specifically states non-tuner monsters, but you have to have a Reptilian tuner. But if you use Reptilian Hydra, destroys all monsters your opponent controls with 0 attack, and then I believe, if correct, you should be able to draw 1 card for each monster that's destroyed that way. So it's a very good card, but I think it's like waiting for something to come out that can really like break it wide open. Like, you know, if there's something like Zero Force, which is like, you know, banish cards, and then when a card is banished, like all monsters on the field become 0. If something like that comes out, that's like, I guess, a little bit easier to trigger to make like all things on the field 0, then this will definitely be a very, very good synchro, and I think a very, very powerful card, like especially if Reptilians get more support. Like Reptilian Hydra has non-targeting field wipe ability that is just like amazing. So yeah, like this is it too right now because it is a little bit tougher to summon, but I think with the right kinds of support, it could be a very, very good card. So yeah, so that was my Reptilian deck profile. It's a deck that I really like, and it's a deck that's kind of casual, but it's also a lot of fun. I really hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and if you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the Team Time Riders YouTube channel for more fantastic content just like this. Please remember to hit that like button, and I'm out. Peace, guys.